Fairlionian welcome.
Yes, a true Fairlionian welcome indeed. It is I, Gomez, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jankie.
What it is.
Exactly, and what the hell are we talking about today? Well, of course, all cards. The whole set is out of the new set of the Underworld. I can't remember what the hell it's called right now. Something of the Underworld, Rise of the Underworlds, and we're also going to be going through the patch notes that they gave us, which is an extensive amount of things. So we are going to be diving in. We're not going to go through every single card in the set, but we'll be going through some of our favorites and our thoughts and such, as well as patching on or touching on the patch notes and that. So yeah, it was a good one, wasn't it, Janky?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yes.
There is. I really like in the digital card game world that you can do certain things that isn't really possible in paper, and lurk specifically is like a mechanic that would not really be logistically possible in paper, and it's just a really cool way of looking at an aggro mid-range shell.
Yeah.
I love the concept of the deck archetypes they're trying to push in this set.
Yes, no, definitely. They've definitely made it so it's going to be a lot more varied in terms of what we're going to see at this moment in time. At least it feels that way. Especially with some of like the other cards, like not even just talking about champion cards. Some of the, and obviously like the new keyword lurk. Some of the other cards that they've put in here are very interesting. Like, so I'm just gonna go off the bat with one of the ones that I find the most interesting. Obviously, we'll go over the champions, but field promotion. When I saw field promotion, I was like, you can't print that. So for anyone who doesn't know, field promotion is a new card in Demacia, 2 mana burst speed. The next time you play a unit this round, bear in mind, scout, and it is now an elite, which does mean a few things. Number one, a unit with scout, especially like any kind of champion, like so obviously like some of the ones which people have been battling around the place. So Teemo getting to go, like Teemo actually becoming a scout.
I'll scout ahead, but actually this time.
Exactly. Putting in more shrooms or doubling more shrooms even more so. Anything with like Darius. Imagine Darius leveling himself up and then going forward again.
Battering ram?
Battering ram. The beardy man. Like, the Marauders.
Oh, wow, yeah, the beardy
Legionnaire Marauders. Even the card which is in which is Demacia itself, which is I can't remember what it's called because it never gets played. The one when it attacks, it gets +2/+2 every single time it attacks. But also, would you just like any kind of thing with overwhelm or just like some crazy abilities? Like my mind was going through like even Vi, the ability of Vi going forward twice if she's leveled up and just being able to grab 2 things and doing that damage, but also the fact that it is now an elite. So it says the next time you play which unit this round, give it scout, it is now an elite. What I want to know is the synergy on the Bladesmith, whereby does it count it immediately? Because obviously it's next time you play, grant it this and it's that. So will he give the buff?
I think it would be enormously strange if it didn't. Given there's like 3 cards in the entire... there's like 4 cards, right, that care about whether or not you've played an elite. There's From the Fallen, there's Cythria 2, the new 3/6 with Scout, and the Battle Master, or whatever he's called, the Blade Master. That's
there
4
also,
cards.
Isn't there like another one which is like summon to like what's their faces and give all elites +1/+1. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying there's 4 cards in the game that would care about it being an elite as it enters.
Okay,
I think it would be very strange if it didn't work that way.
Yes.
Like it would be really disappointing if it didn't count.
God damn it!
The elite tag would start looking a lot worse. But no, the card like is actually nuts. It, like, no word of a lie. My flatmate, my brand new flatmate, I talked to you from a brand new location, folks. But my flatmate was talking to me like 2 days prior to this being spoiled about how he just wants there to be a card that says Grant Scout. And all of the shenanigans that would
work for Riot.
and yeah, no, it's he's right, you know.
Yes, exactly. He is.
There's a lot of things that are implied by this, and Yeah, I think the first thing I am going to try is probably Ataka, the new guy, Atakan.
Yes.
Just because if I'm going to be spending 10 mana on a really like useless stupid play, then I might as well go the distance and spend 12 mana.
I mean, you might as well, yeah.
Yeah. Which Atakan. What do you think of Atakan?
See, to me, he is Noxus's which he is Noxus's what's his face card, like matron card, right?
Right, yeah.
That is what, like it seems like they're trying to give every single region now. You get a matron, you get a matron, you also get a matron target in terms of so that because obviously paying 10 mana is a lot for this guy, but his power, his ability is amazing, but to use matron on your attack turn to be able to then go forward because it is when he attacks, he increases his power and he's obviously an overwhelm. So already with Matron, he's going to be going out on turn 8, like a potentially if it's your attack turn on turn 8, and immediately getting +6 at least onto that stat from the Matron. So it depends what else you've got on the board at that time. But yeah, no, I really liked I really like the card because it's such a you know that if that drops during the game, like admittedly, I guess also you can say the same about Farron, but Farron doesn't have like the 12 health stat. Like Farron can still people still prepare for Farron in like
Yeah.
like I can at least like make sure I've got a thermal beam, or I can make sure like that like I mean like it's harder to prepare for 12 like
Yeah, that's
12
a
health.
rough number. You're not really burning this guy down.
No.
I really like the design space of like I really no I just this set is just so perfect when it comes to its random epics, right? So pretty much every set they splash random cards into the sets that aren't getting the direct sunlight, that aren't getting like much love. So we haven't got a Noxian champion, but we're getting really interesting Noxian cards, and the same goes for all of the other regions that aren't getting direct like champions this set. And they are always the most interesting cards of the set, like without fail. And I really like the big dumb idiot 10 cost. Like I like She Who Wanders, I like Cytheria of the Clouds, I like Atakan.
Yeah, I mean they do such a nice job with those things because they do feel like they are gonna be at that stage in the game. If that drops, you know your opponent is gonna be like, fuck. Unless they've got an answer to that like there and then, because obviously it depends on the board state at that time. But if your opponent's not got an answer, then they know it's like crap. This is I'm done.
That's another thing about digital board games as well, is that they can give character to these cards that are enormous, right? So it like if you play an Eldrazi or an Egyptian god card in paper, it doesn't hit the same way as a card like screaming as it enters the battlefield and like having animations when it attacks and such. So I'm excited to actually play with this card and hear the Bringer of Ruin say things.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that you love old Farron with the Islanders. Like we all know that we know that you love that voice line. So we'll see whether or not what voice line this guy has when he drops onto the field. Speaking about stupid, like a crazy 10 mana cards, let's face it, Gomez is happy for Glorious Evolution.
Would you believe me if I told you that this is where I've been putting most of my theory crafting and like most of my attention for the ladder and competitive play? This is where I've been focusing my attention and tuning a deck.
This surprises me. Honestly, that surprises me that you choose that card.
You go first, because this card was obviously made for you. But I'll explain what my plan is, my devious plan.
I mean, I'd love to hear it. But yeah, so Glorious Evolution is a 10 mana slow speed, which is when your cards cost 1. So basically, it makes all of your cards cost 1 less. Have augment, are created by Fibonacci and now are tech. So they are created by this card, meaning that the fact that they've all been given augment, when you're playing another card, it should be good, because technically every single card is now a created card, as well as the fact that they are costing 1 less, but they are also tech, which means they should synergize with Heimer, and the gloriousness of this should also mean every single card now synergizes with Adaptatron in terms of anything that's got keywords. It's going to be giving it to Adaptatron. Adaptatron's going to be giving it to everything that drops. Like anything that gets put on them is going to be giving it. And although it's a lot of mana to pay, it's 10 mana for basically do nothing unless you've got like a couple of 1 mana cards in your hand that are now going to cost 0. Like it's one of those cards whereby it costs a lot, but you can get so much from it, and there's potential for like some of the things that immediately came to my mind were Targon's Peak and a Freljord buff deck, like it would Freljord ramp deck. In order to like ramp my way up to this quickly, or to Targon's Peak my way into this quickly. Like there's so many different things that I want to be doing with this card. This is so fun for me.
Targon's Glorious Evolution. I like the idea of just completely giving in to like RNG and chaos. And,
oh yes, oh yes. That's what Gomez does best. But I'd love to. And obviously, this should mean, because see, the thing of it is, the one that I'm looking at here on Mobile X, because I just quickly got up the thing on Mobile X. The one on Mobile X doesn't actually say the same as the other thing, which the other thing says, because the other one says everywhere. Which everywhere is important. The fact that that's not on this card, I'm hoping that the everywhere, because that should theoretically mean if it's cards everywhere cost 1 less, it should mean any card you create after the fact should still cost 1 less and have these things. But it's whether or not that is what that card does, because obviously that then implies that cards such as Stalker, like what's his face, the one in Shadow Isles, when you make the ephemeral one that can't block, but when you make like when you play something on Nightfall, you get another one. The potential of that is if it means that the copied of the next one is also 1 less, it then means that if you've got Victor on the board, just 1 Victor, technically they cost 0. And if every single one of the, like if everything on your board has got augment, you should theoretically be able to buff up the entire board in an endless loop. But do not hold people hostage on the ladder, people. Just do what you need to do.
You actually can't anymore. They removed the ability to...
Fantastic. I'm glad that they did, because that was just bullshitty move. Like, you know, that's basically like having a chessboard and putting a cardboard box over your opponent's side saying, you can't play with this anymore, this is now my game.
If you perform the same action, I think it's like 20 times in a row, then your end turn button clicks itself.
Yep. So that's the thing. Just make sure that you get those things up to a nice attack, and then go forward with everything. Because let's face it, you're going to be doing like a big hit for that. But those are my things. But I'd love to hear your plans.
So,
yes,
are you familiar with Swim's Storm deck that he was playing all throughout the Season of Plunder with the 7 cost with Plunder, or whatever that's called, the singer.
Right. The soloist.
Yeah. So the Soloist on 7 requires you to have some way of dealing damage to the enemy Nexus.
Yes.
And also doesn't reduce the cost of your spells, which are huge limitations. Instead of needing to deal damage to your opponent's face, this requires you to have 3 banked spell mana. It is susceptible to deny and doesn't come with a body, but I don't think deny is something that you really need to worry about, especially in the early days of a meta. Right. So my plan is just to play Storm. The sheer power of this decreasing your spells mana cost as well as your unit's mana costs. So let's assume you actually have a leveled Victor in play, which is a bold assumption, but even without the leveled Victor, you can still do a lot of things. Rummage costs 0. Veteran Investigator costs 0.
Rummage won't cost 0. Rummage will cost 1. Like, you know, if you're talking about
Victor in play,
if you've got Victor, sorry, that's my bad.
Rummage costs 0. The Bilgewater card that gives you anything with a tune. Most of the good cards with a tune cost -1. The Veteran Investigator costs 0. Zevi only costs 4 mana, and you're looking to storm off the turn after this. My win condition, and again, this was my flatmate. I think this is freaking genius. The win condition is to play Ezreal so that you are constantly shuffling in 1 copy of Mystic Shot.
Okay.
And every time you redraw that Mystic Shot, you point it at your opponent's face, and it shuffles back in, and it costs 0, and you can keep repeating this 1 copy of Mystic Shot. And this sounds so, like, it sounds so stupid, right? It sounds so dumb, but the Smooth Soloist deck was scraping like a 45 to 50% win rate, which is almost good, and I'm so convinced this will be better.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing how it goes through, but like you're gonna have to tell me how it goes. I actually do want to like, but there's so many different plans I have for this card. Like
Yeah,
my
I would
mind,
love a
amazing.
universe where Glorious Evolution is actually meta
Have you seen the
defined.
animation for it? The animation is amazing.
I have not.
Oh mate, you've got a treat for you. I mean, let's just say that the robot army rises.
Yo.
Let's just say that it is an amazing animation. Like I'm so glad they've given like for 10 mana I expect an animation and you damn well get one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's all good. So let's move on to a few more of these other cards. So one other thing to note about this set is we were given a new Poro, a new Yeti, and at long last, a new Elnook. It took time.
And the most bizarre thing, all three of them are good.
Yes, yes, it is very true. Like to every single like the new Poro is devastating. Like in a true Poro deck where you're making loads of Poros, like the ability of granting all of them random keywords, especially considering, let's face it, the most popular Poro deck is probably the PNZ one, right? Where you use like that and then give it all. Give it all gets so much more value now with just the fact that you're going to be giving so many more keywords which will go potentially between everyone, and then not only that, health stat wise this has got a nice health stat that, like, obviously in a Poro deck you're going to be playing Poro snacks, but like if you don't find them, which is very unlikely, like still give it all, making every one of them like at least 5 health is still a nice health stat to go to.
The idea of this dropping as a 4-cost 4/7 is actually disgusting. Like, a couple of Porous Snacks in, this thing drops as a brick wall.
Yes.
No, my first reaction to this card was probably stupid, but I'm still going to do it on day one. Is I want to play it with is it all the KDA cards sound the same. Is it Go Get It, the one that bounces into your hand and makes an ephemeral one?
God damn it! God, like, oh, now you're asking things. It could be Go Get It. I think it is Go Get It.
I think it
Yeah,
is Go
because
Get It.
yeah.
Yeah,
Go
the
Get It.
Akali one, the Akali one. Being in Ionia for Poros is kind of meh, but I really like the idea of playing Fabled Poro three
Yeah,
times in one turn.
I was gonna say, so all they've got is the quick attack one, right?
Yeah.
In Ionia itself. But
I mean, I'd like to think after Fabled Poro 3 times in a row, I'd have a bit more than quick attack.
Yep.
But just the mental image of that ever happening, it would be like a very difficult. It would be like 1 in every 10 games you do it, but it would be a good feeling.
And then moving on, like obviously, so that's an amazing new Pro that opens up so many more things for that. But we got a new Yeti, which the new Yeti is so interesting. It's so crazy because like instantly the first thing that people are saying is that it works with Lysandra because it's an 8 cost that you can summon this technically really early in the game if you end up with a hand, because it is an 8 cost that would be summoned. That like if you've got 2 Yetis on the field, it just summons this directly from your hand and then makes a copy of itself in the deck. Like it's quite a nice, like in terms of like Yeti wise, it's a nice Yeti.
Wait, hold on. Wait, it's possible to level up Lysandra on turn 3 now.
It takes good draws. Okay, it's theoretically possible, but it takes good draws in order to do that.
How sad would it be? You're playing Pirate Aggro, you go into your turn 3, 2 5/5 brick walls enter the battlefield, and your opponent's Nexus gains tough.
Poo.
Oh dear.
I mean, it's insane. It's gonna be like, in terms of the chance of it happening, it is very rare. But for those times when it does happen, it's just like,
yeah. Well, you know, as streamers, we like the 1 in 100 Twitch clips.
I mean, we do.
Yeah.
We really do.
But yeah, this card's pretty. Like, I love the design of it. I love that if it's a break in your hand, like you don't have any Yetis in play, playing it. It has a play effect, but it summons itself, which is a really cool dynamic. Like it has anti-synergy written on the card.
Yes.
Which I just love. I love the weird backwards design that it has. But I think Yetis were pretty close, and this I don't think
Yetis have always kind of been there because like they've always kind of featured. No, like obviously like it. evolved into Ash LeBonk, but it used to be like Ash Sejuani. Like they've like, and obviously, like when I say Yetis, I don't mean like a full-on Yeti deck. It was mostly just people playing Trapper and then getting that 5 membership. Other than that, but that's where they've kind of like stayed. And so the actual chance for a breakaway Yeti deck, I want it so much.
Yeah, I mean, most of the Yetis are quite good. Like the only Yeti that like the one cost 1/2 is like not good, but like if you were actually playing a devoted Yeti deck, I think it would make a spot. The only one that really sucks is the 7 cost that freezes small guys, and the rest of them are like all pretty playable standalone cards.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you on that one. Yeah, 100%. And then obviously we got a new Elnook as well in a different region that we might as well go through, because let's go through all the cards that are on Call the Wild. The dead card that never got played, really. But yes, the Elnook is here from P&Z, the Volunteer Elnook, which is when I'm summoned, create a random Elnook on the top 6 cards of your deck, which should mean that, like, so when it says create a random thing, it means create one of 3 itself, the other one. So, because those are the only choices of Elnooks right now.
Yeah. Can it make itself create a random? It doesn't say other Elnook.
It does say create a random Elnook, so theoretically it could craft itself.
Yeah, I mean, and the odds are not low.
I mean, it's 1 in 3.
I'm about to say something that's going to age incredibly poorly. I can feel it, but I
am I love it.
I am convinced that this will make Elnuks a A-tier deck. Like, not S-tier by any means, but about as powerful as Shurima Overwhelm or Ash Sejuani. Just a powerful mid-range deck. I'm convinced.
I mean, its ability to... Well, number one, you're already shuffling something into the top... like... There's ways of getting enough, because let's face it, Elnooks, yet again, their best place was P&Z because of the amount of copy spells, because obviously the most powerful Elnook is that one which summons all the Elnooks which are on the top. What is it? Because it used to be that, like, it shows how long it's been since I've looked at this card. It used to be the top 10 cards, and obviously it got nerfed, and now I cannot remember. It's the top something cards that summons
6.
Is it the top 6 cards?
I think so.
Yeah. But the point of it is that the more Yetis you can shuffle in, which obviously you can do that more, and the synergy that can be done with which is not only this new card in P&Z, but the other card, the Perfectionist, which allows you to predict and then also create 3 copies of the chosen card. So it's it's kind of choosing what I need, like trying to find that Elnook which summons all the Elnooks, and then also shuffling another 3 copies of that in the. You know what I mean? Like there's that actually becomes synergy in itself with that card also being added to the game. So I think the Elnooks have got a shot now. You know, I really do.
I strongly believe that it's going to be a deck that can climb a ladder. So just for like clarity, I would say an A-tier deck is any deck that can get to Masters in a reasonable time period.
Yes. The main thing is, can I get all of my Elnooks on the board before they can level Pike? That's the question that one must ask self.
He's so scary, but his animation's so good.
He is. So yeah, let's move on to the actual champions. And so we've mentioned Pike. I'm not gonna lie. Number 1, Pike was the most weirdest reveal ever, in the fact that he was leaked before he was revealed.
In Hungarian?
Well, that's the thing. He was leaked. Like, is it me? Yeah, like literally, like he leaked, and you look at the card artwork, and you just think, like, when I saw the leak, I was like, it's bullshit.
That's fake as fuck.
That's fake as fuck. And then suddenly you find out, my God, this is real.
The level up art, like, there's something really weird about the art. It makes, like, the level 1 art looks really good if you look at the full art, but on the card it looks really odd. And the level 2 art doesn't really make sense unless you see the level up animation.
Yes.
So, like, it looks very fake.
That's what I mean. It looks like it was the most like I think out of all of the champions, his is the one card art which looks kind of a little bit out of place in terms of like you'd think, oh that's not a real one, but it was just funny that it happened on the day where he leaked early, and so I was like, can I trust this? It was so weird, but amazing. Like seeing the actual animation of watching him when like number one he's the first champion who can basically become a spell, which leads a few different things, which means that he's the first champion who can just be denied.
I would go so far as to say that every champion becomes a spell, Gomez.
No.
I know what you mean.
To summon to the board. I know that every champion's got a champion spell, but I mean to actually get him on the board. Like we had we had what's his face, like Jarvan the Fourth, who was the first burst speed champion. This is like the first champion who, to get them on the board, that's what I'm trying to say. Obviously,
deniable champion.
A deniable champion, yes, like that. That's what I mean. To actually, their presence of them appearing on the board. But what makes this so interesting is the fact that like it's because he becomes a copy of that. So without any trickery that you need within other regions or whatnot in order to get multiple of the same champion, if you get death from below, like just with the fact that it's like him, like you play him, he's on the board, you get another one, you then get him to be death from below and play. You can actually get him on the board without having to do any trickery with like more summoning of champions from Shadow Isles or using what's his face like the normal tricks to get multiple champions.
Does it work like? I mean, like I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work like that. But like
that's what I mean.
Instinctually, I just assumes that Death from Below would also transform into Bone Skewer if there was a Pike in play. But like, I guess that wouldn't make sense, would it?
Well, it just says like because obviously if he's lurking, transform me into Death from Below. So that should transform him. Like if he's lurking.
Okay, so the comparison I would make is if you have Egnivia in play, Anivias in your hand are still Harsh Winds.
True. I actually want to know how that's going to work because obviously, like because they don't normally transform into the champion spell, like so what would be Bone Skewer, until they're in your hand and see that you've got them in play. So it's gonna be. I actually want to know how the synergy is gonna work because I read it as being that it would be able to do it like that, but you might be right. It might.
I could believe either way around, but instinct. So like. Logically, it should stay Death from Below, but instinctually, I don't think it will.
I said like that is one thing to wait and see how that happens, and also this is the first champion then that because their summon is a spell, Karma can make happen multiple times.
Neat. I can't be the only one that felt like bamboozled and betrayed when I found out that Bone Skewer was his champion spell.
No, I actually didn't mind it. I didn't mind. The reason why I didn't mind it is because when you watch the animation, like, yeah, sure, it puts him, like, it removes him from play and puts him on top of your deck. But in the animation, the fact that he's leveled up form actually does do so if he kills somebody, then it strikes the weakest. The fact that if you use Bone Skewer, like, before he shuffles back into the deck, that animation goes off. Like, he can wipe a board and then just disappear. He's like, I'm gone! I've done what I needed to! I'm off!
He strikes the first unit, starts shuffling in, and goes, wait, I'm not finished yet. I got shit to do.
He's like, I must hunt more!
No, when I say betrayal, it wasn't like a bad betrayal. I just felt like a child that had been bamboozled. Like, oh, you rogues, you knew all along. I've been tricked. I don't know. It's just when I saw.
Did you hope for a completely new spell added to the game?
It wasn't even a hope. It was just a really weird feeling seeing a card we've played with already get Pike's name written in front of it, like Pike's Bone Skewer. It just like I felt like I was at a kid's party and I'd just seen like a magician perform a really cheap trick. I was like, whoa, holy moly, where did that rabbit come from?
Very true.
It's hard to explain.
I can kind of understand what you mean in terms of that, like, because obviously when we got Echo, his champion spell was a completely new spell that's been like added to the game at the time, and I believe Rek'Sai's is a completely new spell that's been added to the game that we haven't had. So I guess I can kind of understand you just like,
Yeah,
when I want a completely new thing to come with my champion.
Yeah, I just felt it's just this is the first time ever we have seen a champion release after their champion spell, and it just felt really weird. It just sat with me. It sat with me really weird.
It's put a bit of like one of those like like that taste in your mouth.
What just happened?
That bitter aftertaste in the mouth.
I feel like I've just been shortchanged.
Exactly. But like seeing Pike in action, it scares me. It both excites me because I can't wait to play him, but he also terrifies. Like I feel like I'm going to need a spare change of underwear. If I see him on the opponent's side.
I have watched his champion trailer like 7 times already, just because his voice lines are so sick. He is actually thematically so perfect.
I mean, he is perfect. I still remember the first time I saw him on Leaked was the Spanish version. So it was Ventos Melte or whatever he was saying in Spanish on
I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds cool.
I love it. But yeah, no, he's everything like it hits perfectly. Like the fact of knowing that Doom is plus the animation, like those X, the watery X's.
That's what when Sunny was on. That's what I was trying to describe to you. The amazing ultimate animation, and they translated it perfectly.
Yeah, so and I love the whole like archetype of that, and the spell, the list is such a devastating spell. Not just for Pike, just for Bilgewater in general. That is such a devastating card. Like that could be used. Yeah, again, it's one of those cards where it's got so many uses.
Yeah, it's a 0-cost way of triggering Lurk on your opponent's turn. Like,
yes,
it's a way of attacking without committing to like Irelia type nonsense.
It is devastating. So let's move on to let's go. We've gone from Pikes. Let's go all the way back to the beginning to the first champion we saw, Rek'Sai. So obviously, who brought in the Lurk archetype and whatnot in terms of like she was like the first champion that we saw. Really, yeah, again, it's one of those ones whereby I'm scared. I'm scared, but also just I can't wait to play. Like it was one of those things. I don't know about you, but upon like reveal, like the first thing when you see and go, oh my god, she's a 3-mana 3/6, like, and that's a devastating stat line and whatnot. And then you start reading everything like, yeah, when I lurk and attack, oh my god, I basically am granting like a +1 twice because it's when I'm lurking, like all the attacks. So I'm like I'm doing this, and then you look at it's like at the end of round. I go back into your deck. It's like, what? At the end.
This might just be a brand new romance, a blooming romance, and maybe I won't feel this way in a couple of weeks. But Rek'Sai's my favorite champion.
Yeah,
like I love this card design. I cannot think of a champion currently in LOR or either of these other two new ones that interests me as much as Rek'Sai. This champ is so cool.
And the fact that it is just I've attacked with 10 power, so it's not like I have to strike. So it's not like Vi or Nasus or any of those ones whereby they have to strike with that 10 damage, because obviously there is ways around that, because obviously like a Hush or whatnot, she just has to attack with 10 damage, which obviously there are ways of making those stats go up a lot quicker in terms of like buffs and whatnot, especially in Shurima itself. There's already like a +3 for 1 mana in the what's it called? Shapestones or whatever. Yeah. Yes. So that's what I mean. Like the fact that you can actually level her up quite quickly without even having to rely on the Lurk word. You know what I mean? To get her attack stats up. But that is also devastating. The fact that that Lurk is going to be slowly but surely like your opponent is going to be like every single time they're hitting Lurk, they just know. Okay, death is coming. Like slowly but surely.
Something I want to know with this champion, the wording would suggest not, but if I lock in my attack with let's say a 7 attack Rek'Sai, and then after my opponent is blocked, I use a Shapestone or a Elixir of Wrath, and she goes up to 10, does she level?
That's again, I don't know, because I don't know if it's upon declaring the attack, or whether or not it's just while she's attacking. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things whereby it's going to take a bit of testing to find out whether or not that is true, whether or not she has to declare the 10 damage upon the start of the attack, or whether or not, as you say, during the middle of combat you then do, because then obviously that allows for a little bit of trickery.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be one of those ones that, yeah, again, it's going to be interesting to explore and see how that works. But
they don't block her because, or maybe she's really big, and they chump block her, and then post chump block you level her up by using a combat trick, assuming that that's possible, and now she has overwhelm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be quite a devastating, like, it's a devastating swing to make happen, like, if you can. So yeah, no, that it's something to look forward to. Like, I'm just so happy.
I'm having the
cards.
same thing I had with Malphite, where until this card got printed in LOR and it got a more realistic lick of paint than it had in League of Legends, I didn't realize she was enormous.
Oh, massively.
She is absolutely huge.
She is massive. Yes, like, here's the thing: is you've got that, like, League of Legends experience. I don't, so I've got no idea what the hell these champions are like in that
because of the limitations of the map, all champions are roughly the same size. Like, voice lines can hint at how big things are. Like Malphite's like, I'm a mountain, but until you see him like punching holes in the earth, it doesn't really hit home.
Yeah, but yeah, now you get to see how big she really is. It's like, oh, step, like, yeah, all these cards going into now Echo, which Echo, what have they done?
Right. So I have a complaint about this card in particular, and this might just be me. But I am very much not the type of person to read cards when I am playing. So after I've acclimatized myself to a game like Legends of Runeterra or Magic the Gathering or whatever, I stop reading cards completely. Because like I know what the cards do. I can just look at the art and go, this is that card. This is Echo. This is Drop Border. All of Echo's spells look exactly the same.
I mean, Echo's is true. They've got a very similar look. The one thing that caught me off guard, right? Now, it is so weird, and I want to know whether or not this is just, it's a random thing, or whether there is actually something set in stone about it. But Echo, number one, I love the design. I love, like, his spell, like, literally his spell time trick is without a doubt like the heart of the cards Yugi kind of thing. I know that's not his, like, spell. I mean, it's the spell that he creates upon striking, because his spell is called Shot, which is like a draw and add a parallel which it converge, which in that as well is also a devastating card, but we'll get into that. Time Trick is such an interesting card because it is the immediate predict and draw, so it is the heart of the cards Yugi card of, I need something to get me out of this. Quickly, use this. It then allows me to, like, predict it and go, I need that card. Choose it and immediately draw that card.
Yeah, burst speed. Yeah.
Exactly. Just about.
So in paper card games, you can just pick up your deck and look at it, right? There are cards that say search your library for a thing. In digital card games, we can get cards that search for specific cards, like, for example, some really bad boat that draws Shen, but we can't pick up our deck and look at it. So I think Time Trick is the closest we are ever going to get to picking up our deck and choosing a card to draw. I think this is as powerful as this kind of effect is going to get.
Yeah, and it is devastating. The other thing I want to say is his create 3 chrono breaks. Chrono Break is devastating, but in the reveal, and then in the, like, the shot that you get given on Twitter afterwards of just showing all of his spell, I'm so confused about Chrono Break, and I'll explain why. In the video where you see him, because Chrono Break, he creates 3 Chrono Breaks. Chrono Break is revive all allies that died this round, then rally. In the trailer, 2 of them are burst speed, 1 of them is fast speed, and then when you see the actual cards on Twitter, it shows the card as being a slow speed spell. So when he creates those 3 cards, does he just create them at random speeds? Like, so
you've got to be fucking with me. Is that true?
Have you not seen that?
I didn't notice that.
That was the first thing I picked picked up on. If you check out his trailer, his Echo's trailer, when he levels up and you get to see those chrono breaks, 2 of them are burst speed, 1 of them is fast speed, and as I said, if you look at his actual afterwards where they show the cards on the reveal, it shows it as being slow speed. So I'm like, when he creates them, so can he create them so that he creates 3 burst speed ones, in which case you're laughing? Or is it going to be the times where he creates all 3 of them at slow speed? He's like, shit! Like, I needed this now! Type thing. Like, because obviously if it's burst speed, it can be used as a defensive maneuver on your opponent's turn. Like, if they're attacking forward doing an open, you can use that and, like, actually, correction, no, don't worry, ignore that because it needs allies to die first. So you can go forward and then immediately burst so you can do good trades on that. Everything dies on your side, everything dies on your opponent's side, and then burst speed attack. Like that's what I want to know, because does he just create them at random speeds? Because
I am looking at these 2 burst speeds and 1 fast speed. If this is if this is intentional, I swear to God, if this is intentional, that is some grade A bullshit.
Did you not realize that? That was I said, like, that is the first thing. Like, see, I take it you just had a look at the trailer. Like, that's like, it caught me so off guard in terms of what does this mean?
You predicted 5 times when I level up, create 3 chrono breaks in your deck with random timings.
Random timings, because as I said, for the person who gets that on like burst speed, like it's just like you feel done. Like that's
has to be a mistake. It has to be. There's no singular fucking way that's on purpose.
Well, but it's the fact that 2 of them are burst speed and 1 of them's fast speed.
And 1 of them is slow speed.
1 is slow speed. So I actually want to know, like, I need clarification on Echo's leveled up chrono breaks, because they're crazy.
Yeah, if I level up my Echo and it shuffles in 2 slow speeds and a fast speed or whatever, I'm a Hearthstone streamer now. Like, I'm sorry, Riot, I'm done.
Because that is, literally, that's the first thing I picked up on his trailer. I was just like, what is this? I can't understand. Why have you done this? But at the same point, his actual spell, which is the 2 mana slow speed called shot, which is the parallel convergence, which you draw a card and create a parallel convergence in your deck. Parallel convergence is start a free attack with the exact ephemeral copy of each ally. So basically, everyone who's on the board attacks forward ephemerally. And then if you've got Chrono Break, but if you've got Chrono Break at burst speed, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can do some really stupid things. Well, potentially.
I've got something stupid for you. So the Glorious Evolution deck I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
If you are playing these Veteran Investigator loops with Zevi and such, Cold Shot is a 0 cost draw 1, and Parallel Convergence is a 2 cost attack forward with exact copies of your unit and trigger their summon effects.
Yes.
So Parallel Convergence could be a 2 cost, each player draws like, well, you would have a Zevi in play presumably, so you would draw like 4 and they would draw 2. It's so premium. It's beautiful.
I mean, I can't wait to see that deck in action, Buddy Boo, because it just everything you're saying about it sounds devastating. So I cannot wait to see that. And then, which is, like I said, I think that's like us covering like most of the cards. Unless there's any other standout cards that you want, because we covered the champions, we covered a few of our favorites.
How about we? So I'll just speed run from top to bottom and say some of the more like interesting things for me, and then do you want to do the same?
Go for it.
So from top to bottom, I think it's knock him down. Line him up, knock him down. I think it's very interesting that you can burst speed, put a keg into play.
Yeah, so, the first ever burst speed keg is devastating.
If you Vile Feast your opponent's unit while it's on 1 health and they Pale Cascade it or they Shape Stoned it, you can burst speed a keg into play and still kill it. Yep. You can use a keg and Withering Wail in the same action, or a keg and a 2-mana Make It Rain in the same action.
Yep.
Huge, enormous. That's definitely one of the more probably powerful rather than interesting cards here. Starlit Epiphany, the 3 cost that replaces your deck with Behold the Infinite. Firstly, if it weren't for the fact that they had just completely crippled Lysandra Trundle Control, this would be a hilarious counter to that deck. they obliterate your deck, you replace it with 20 new cards.
Yeah.
But Behold the Infinite being a 2-cost spell, this might be a legitimate reason to run Veteran Investigator, which not Veteran Investigator, sorry, I've got Veteran Investigator on the mind. The other one, Insightful Investigator, the 4-cost
Yeah, the one who,
that,
whenever you do a two mana
yeah.
draws,
If your entire deck is 2-drops and that 2-drop is evoke, you can pretty much take an off turn. Every second turn, you take an off turn to just cast Behold the Infinite, and it's like every second turn you are casting Living Legends, except you don't get the mana back. It's a little bit awkward, it's a little bit clunky, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
I mean, definitely, I want to be making a deck that's based around that card because it is just so stupid. You just enter the realm of, when I now get to... Because I swear that Hearthstone had like a similar card at some point where...
Explore Ungoro!
Exactly, where it was just that you turn all the cards into that kind of mechanic, so... You know, I look forward to this. For banter's sake, this without a doubt the most banter deck that you know.
That's the standouts for me from this set that we haven't talked about already.
Yeah, no, the only other one, like, I agree with all those ones. The only ones that I want to add are Fallen Feline, just because that Hexite Crystal is just such an interesting card to have, which is like a fast speed 2-mana, do damage, like 2 damage to everything, and if it gets predicted, you immediately draw it. Like, that to me is just like such a...
My problem with Fallen Feline is it's so close to being cool, but it's really good. And my problem is like there's only a certain amount of overlap cool and good can have. Like if a card becomes stupidly powerful, it loses all of its cool.
Right.
And I have a feeling that I'm going to get very sick of seeing Fallen Feline and getting high rolled by an early Hexite Crystal.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare for that. And the only other thing I want to say is Careful Preparation. I think it's like a really great card, which is that 3 mana, which is like a burst speed, which is to place a card from your hand into your deck, predict, then create an exact copy of the chosen card in your hand. Like, I feel like that's such a great card, especially considering the fact that it is basically, let's face it, put in there for Kahiri. Those times when you end up with Kahiri in your hand at the beginning, like you throw him away in the mulligan and the son of a bitch comes back immediately.
Yeah.
The ability to be able to go, no, you are going back in the deck, and then which like being able to get like whatever you choose, getting another copy of something, as well as like potentially the chance to predict him and buff up his stats. Like, honestly, I really like that card.
Careful preparation, sorry, is kind of neat in that it's a -1 overall. Like you're spending 3 mana to go -1 in hand, and I would say this card was like pretty dreadful if it wasn't for the fact that Rek'Sai can interact with herself, and she's like one of the only champions that ever like has been able to do this, right? So like what I mean by that is because she exists on the top of your library, rather than in your hand when she's on board. When you attack with Rek'Sai, if Rek'Sai is on top of your library, the minion is still there and she still lurks, so your lurkers get +3/+0. So careful prepping into Rek'Sai, getting a copy in hand and on top of your deck sounds devastatingly powerful as a turn 3 play.
I mean, you say that you're 1 down. Technically, because you're playing it, you are removing a card from your hand, but you are still gaining a copy of whatever you choose in the prediction. So you are... I don't really see that as you losing one. Personally.
I mean, like, but hand-wise, because you go from having a careful preparation and the card that you shuffle into just having 1 copy. The other copy is like on your deck. So like you go 1 down hand advantage-wise.
Okay, fair enough then. Now I get you.
But yeah, no, I think it remains to be seen. But I think if nothing else, careful preparation is super fucking cool. So.
I mean, it's a really good card. So let us go from all those cards, which like literally so many good cards. Like, they've done an amazing job with this set.
Oh yeah, excellent.
Definitely. To me, this is one of these sets whereby it is so hard to say, like, this is a definite make card. Like, in terms of in previous ones, we've had like a card where it's been easy to say. I would say Time Trick is definitely a card where I would suggest like crafting. But in terms of like potentially the list, but the list is a little bit more expensive. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like for people who are like new to the game, trying to work out where to use your resources, field promotion and Field Promotion and Time Trick would be 2 cards I would recommend.
Oh yeah, Time Trick is going to be a staple forever. So I definitely start with that. And beyond that, honestly, I don't know how many autocrafts there are in this set. The set is so focused on the lurk mechanic that like if you're not interested or in building,
you have to craft like the whole thing in order to get to make the deck. So yeah, it is really hard to suggest like a one-offs of like. But I still would say like Field Promotion and
honestly, the best autocraft of this set is Will of Ionia.
I mean, we'll get into that. So let's now go through the patch notes, the extensive patch notes.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this one double time because this is practically an episode in itself.
Let's do So double time. Number 1, they reverted Misfortune back to Misfortune.
I'm surprised they ever changed this in the first place. By the time they changed this, Gouts wasn't a real deck.
Yep, and so now they've reverted her back, because for those who don't remember, Misfortune actually used to have Overwhelm on her level up, so now they've given it back to her. Like, here, have this back, because people were complaining at the time, and so I think that's why they did the nerf, but she's back where she was. Jarvan has now got to only do 3 strikes, which is like seeing his allies survive 3 strikes rather than 4 strikes, so potentially like his chances of leveling up, because there were some times where he was taking a little bit of time to level up, so like I can see that they wanted to be like, let's push his level up to be faster. So
when you see it written down, it looks like it wouldn't take very long to level up at all, and then you play him.
And then it's like, it does take. It's like, come on, man.
My guys keep dying.
And then we get Tryndamere, who actually it's so weird. It's so weird. It's like, does he really need the tough bit?
I think, isn't this a revert as well? This is Alpha Tryndamere, isn't it?
It might be, but I don't remember him having like tough. But obviously, like I didn't play in the alpha; I played in beta. So, like, this might be a rehash. But what they've done is on his level 2, he already had Overwhelm and Fearsome, but they're giving him tough. But it's just like, is that really making a difference to if people are playing him or not? Let's in all honesty,
he now does not trade with a Rek'Sai that has lurked 6 times.
This is true.
Yeah, very.
That might end up being the crucial one.
The turning point in the game.
Karma going down to 5 mana, which was she at 5 mana at some point, and they put her up to 6. Like,
yep, yes sir.
So yet again, a
Karma
days. Yep, Karma's been reverted back down to 5 mana, which yet again just like she's such a good champion. The fact that she gets the now chance to get out a bit earlier, like give you a few more spells, like creating the spells in hand. Obviously, like a lot of times people are just waiting to play Karma until they're about to get enlightened so that she doesn't die and gets that level up. So
yeah, justice for Karma.
That is the thing. Irelia has now been nerfed and has to see 14 allies attack before that she can level. She used to have to only see 12. So
I would have bet money that they were going to make it so that her level up, the Blade Dance spell cost 1, not 0. I hate this nerf. This was not the issue with Irelia.
Well, you wanted the switcheroo move to...
I just wanted the switcheroo move to cost mana. She is too powerful once she flips. I don't care. Like, adding 2 units onto the attack trigger doesn't fucking matter.
Jankie's not happy. Because admittedly, she can get there so fast with Azir, but we'll get there when we get there. Riven, actually a really nice change because it puts her in line with a few other champions who do a similar thing, which now basically means that when she is summoned and you've got the attack token, she immediately reforges. Whereas before, basically, like it was such a weird thing with Riven because like you didn't want to play her on your attack turn because like you weren't getting the reforge. You'd be looking at playing something else on your turn 3, and then it would be on your opponent. Like you were always trying to play Riven on your opponent's turn, so going into your turn, she would reforge. Like or to me, that's what it always felt like in terms of I'm not going to get the usefulness I want out of her this turn, so I don't really need to play her. So I'm just going to play this, and then when it's my opponent's turn, I'm going to play her. Like once I know that they can't kill her, so I'm getting that reforge. So the fact that it now is when she's summoned, and you've got the attack token, she also reforges is very nice. And it puts her in line, as I say, with a number of other champions like Irelia, because Irelia is when I'm summoned and you've got the attack token, she gets her thing. So It makes sense.
This is the second consecutive buff given to a champion that I said would break the meta. That aged really badly.
Yes. You're damn right it did. Let's go on. Oh, my boy, Heimer! Heimer's stats have gone up by 1. So he now, instead of being, both of his stats have gone up by 1. So now instead of being a 1-3, he is a 2-4. And then that obviously goes up to a 3-5. I'm so happy about that. Like, Heimer needed more survivability. Like, the reason why I love this is because, like, yeah, sure, it's not like, crazy in terms of health wise, but at the same point, this now gets him out of the way of gotcha. Get excited, glimpse from beyond, like, you know what I mean? Grasp of theme, like, this actually gets him past a number of different spells that would kill him instantly upon playing.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I'm very happy that Heimer's got this buff. We've got Hecarim going. Yeah, again, was this? Did he used to have 6 health?
If I remember Hecarim's character arc correctly,
yes,
he used to be a 5 cost that summoned 3 to ephemerals. Right. Then they nerfed him to a 6 cost that summoned 2 2/2s,
right.
But gave him additional stats. And then I think they took those stats away from him again. So I think this might be a revert to a nerfed Hecarim.
Yeah, so Hecarim has had a long and very past of different things, but they have put his attack, his health stat up. Sorry, his health stat up just that little bit more. Like, Hecarim's one of those champions whereby we in the right deck, he's so scary. Like, the right deck, once he hits the board, if you've got enough ephemerals, if they've been playing those sharks, really devastating. Plus, I do like the idea of running him with what's his face, Echo, in terms of like Echo's spell, the convergence one, which gives you ephemerals in a free attack. Like, that is scary in itself. Like, so I can see there potentially being a deck like that. Obviously, like, the most popular decks with Hecarim were Hecarim, Lucian, and Hecarim Azir. But yeah,
but those aren't a funny name, so I'm gonna play Hecarim.
You're damn right. I'm gonna play Hecarim.
Hecarim, I think needed. I think he needs to be huge. Like, he needs to have powerful stats because he promotes playing a gameplay pattern which results in you taking like 15 damage by the time you play him. Yeah. Like, it's really hard to play on the defensive as ephemerals. So I feel like if he is going to be your big bomb play that makes it all worth it, he better be good.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right in that kind of thing, because that's the problem with any kind of ephemeral archetype, is the fact that if you base your deck around it, you have no defense most of the time, and your opponent knows it, and they massively take advantage of it. So yeah, that is good, because let's face it, like, the only things that you're really playing on that back line are like the one who buffs ephemerals, who you don't really want to be throwing out there onto the front lines because you want the buffs going into the ephemerals. So yeah, when he drops, you want there to be like some crucial stats going in. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
For those of you listening at home, we are barely 1/3 of the way there. Yeah, this patch was enormous.
We've got this. We're getting there. Like, we're speed running the patch. Somebody time it. Azir's level 1 has now gone up to, instead of summoning 10 units, he now has to summon 13 units before he levels up. So obviously, like, one of the devastating things about Azir Irelia is how quickly Azir levels up, but also that helps the Irelia level up, and the increased stats that come from that. Now, admittedly, it's not really going to add too much to him. It's only added another 3, but it does delay the extra damage that little tiny bit longer. So
I level up 1 turn later, which I think is probably the healthiest change they could have given him.
Yeah, which is a nice thing. Obviously, just sliding that deck down. This is, to me, the biggest nerf, which is removing Fearsome from Nasus's level 1. Nasus's level 2 and level 3 will still have Fearsome, but Nasus's level 1 no longer having the keyword Fearsome is so big to me. I cannot tell you how many Nasus Thrash decks I've been against whereby, like, I've had defense and I can't use it because, like, none of it is like a +3, or if I did have something that was over 3, old Thrash has immediately grabbed it with his challenge, and so I've now got no defense for Nasus, and then Big Boy Nasus comes out. So the fact that you can now defend and just give you that little bit more like survival going into like maybe another turn where you can flip the whole game is nice.
Yeah, I definitely think it's super relevant, but I think there are two much more devastating nerfs that we haven't got to yet. So I'll say
we're getting there. Don't worry, we're slowly but surely. We got Sivir. Sivir now only has to see you only have to deal 30 damage to level her up rather than 35. So that's like a nice little buff to her, like to potentially quickly level her.
The funny thing about Sivir is like Sivir's level up progress is always like 1, 5, 29. Yep. Like you jump exponentially. So I'm not even sure if this makes a difference. Most of the time.
This makes no difference to me. When I was playing her in my Swole Scroll deck, all it takes a few hits with Swole Scroll, boom, she was leveled. But we go into Tally. Tally's level 2. Now would you deal 2 damage to my blocker 3 times if they're dead or gone? Do 2 to the enemy nexus instead? Doesn't require there being a landmark on the board anymore, which is actually really nice. Cause sometimes you would level her up, it's like crap, I don't have a landmark on the board, so I'm not actually getting those things. That's actually quite a nice little buff that's happened to her, where you no longer reliant on needing a landmark on this board, to get those abilities. My boy Tarek, who I love Tarek so much, has been given a bit of a boost in terms of his health. His health stat has now gone up from 4 to 5, and then when he levels up, goes up to 6. I love Tarek.
Let's play a game of how many times can we increase Tarek's stat line before he gets meta playable.
How dare you! Tarek is an amazing character.
Let's try 2-4. No? Okay. How about 3-4?
Tarek makes people invincible, you swines. He's an amazing card.
I love Tarek more than anything, but I'm also realistic.
Plus his beach skin.
Damn, you right though.
I know, right? And then we have Moon Man himself. Moon Man's stats have gone up, which I believe were his stats when he first came into the game. I believe he wasn't. Again, a revert to a nerf previously. He's now gone back to a 3-3 and then goes up to a 4-4 upon level up, because obviously he got nerfed down when Moon Man was literally everywhere. So big stuff. Now we get into all the spells and followers. So again, a revert on Make It Rain. Make It Rain is now back down to 2 mana.
Enormous.
I mean, this is actually big, especially with Burst Speed Keg. This is big.
This is a bigger nerf to Irelia than the Irelia nerf.
And also, this is actually again a buff to Misfortune, because obviously this is Misfortune spell. So a little bit of a buff to her with it now no longer costing 3 mana. Literally, it's one of those things where at the time I understand why they nerfed it to 3 mana, because so many people were complaining about it. But with so many other things going on, it makes sense. Obviously, with Bilgewater being such a less played region at the time, this is nice. So we're seeing a lot of reverts to things that previously got nerfed on Bilgewater. So it's very nice to see.
For example,
is devastating. So Black Market Merchant going up in health stat now to a 2-2, which I can't remember.
It is another revert.
It's a revert. I was going to say, I need to remember. I was like, was that a revert? Yes, no, it is a revert.
It is like a mental maze trying to go back through the patches.
You really have to go back, because they nerfed it on different patches. So going back to a 2-2, just yet again, those stats, meaning that a Vile Feast and all that, he can live through that, or Withering Well. Such a nice thing to have and be able to get those discounts on those nabs. Double Up going down to 5 mana, which is the spell, which is deal 2 damage to an enemy. If it kills it, do 4 damage to the enemy next. It's really powerful spell. It's nice to see that it's come down in cost, because it was a little bit unplayable at 6. Potentially playable at 5. We will see. I'm it's probably not, but
I think so it's more disruptable than Decimate, but it's fast speed. And I think that is exactly what 1 more mana would cost. If Decimate was just fast speed, it would be unfair at a 5 mana spell, but this one's a little bit more disruptable. A lot more. And I think this will see competitive play 100%.
Yep, so so good to see that. So a lot of Bilgewater stuff, as you see, because Bilgewater was starting to become the most unplayed region. Slotbot, this is a good card. Again, this is a good thing they've done to Slotbot. Slotbot now is on summon and round start, whereas it used to just be on round start. Grant me does he not go up in attack stats? I'm just reading this. Grant me to, so he doesn't, because I thought it ran.
Yeah, he gets like it's the same mechanic.
It's the same mechanic. I was reading this weird because it's like grant me +1.
They gave
each card.
Slotbot weird wording for the sake of
They
weird
really
wording.
did.
Yeah.
They gave him weird thing, but basically, the fact that he can do that from summon, because sometimes he was being summoned and immediately people were like, I can't let him go on because I know how devastated he can be. So, really good thing, especially in a good draw deck. That is
this terrifies me. Like this actually terrifies me. Slotbot is now a 3-cost, 3/3 in stats. That
potentially,
grows
yeah,
that grows. Like
yeah.
He starts on curve. His floor, his absolute floor, is on curve.
Yep. So I cannot wait to play some good slot bot decks, like getting him up to some really stupid things. But yes, we've got Confront now, which is the Shyvana spell, which is like a grant in an ally challenger, has now gone from 3 cost to 2 cost. Whether or not that's going to change too much of it, like it does make it.
I'm surprised this wasn't its mana cost when it got released.
I mean, it's definitely more playable now.
Yeah.
This one of those things, whether or not it will or won't. I guess it depends on like what deck you're playing as to whether or not you want. I guess you kind of want challenger if you're playing a what's his face deck, the old I can't think of his name right now. The man who got buffed earlier, Jarvan. If you're playing Jarvan, you kind of want challenger because he's going to be on your attack turn to help level Jarvan, but yeah, I don't know how playable this is still going to be.
Yeah.
This goes into the Mage Seeker. Yeah, again, another card whereby I'm thinking, does this stat change really increase its usage in terms of the Mage Seeker going up from its base stat of being 4/3 to just being a 4/4 now? So they've given them a little bit more health, which is yes.
What do you mean? This is the Lux buff everyone wanted.
I mean, listen, I feel that people would have wanted the cost down on Lux like what happened to Karma if they wanted anything to happen.
No, everyone was thinking, Lux is unplayable. Please, Riot, fix Mage Seeker Inciter.
He is quite clearly the man who holds the deck together, the glue that binds. But yeah, no, so it's one of those things where like, it could potentially have a knock-on effect, but at the moment, I don't really think so personally. But,
oh yeah, no way. 100% no. Lux is still not very good.
Blade Keeper going up in stats from a 2/3 to a 3/3, and he's he's the unit which is upon playing he's granting +2/+2. Not actually a bad unit. It was actually used like in some quite like he does have his uses, and yeah, I feel like this is actually quite a nice little buff to add in there.
Demacia is getting a critical number of 4-cost 5/5s.
I mean, it really is, really is. We've got like the best card has been obviously the next one, which is Howling Abyss.
Let's go, baby!
Howling Abyss going down to 6. Like this, I'm so happy. Is it weird?
Long-time listeners of this podcast will remember when we reviewed Howling Abyss as a brand new card, and we said words along the lines of, if ever this card was meta, it would be unhealthy for the meta.
I cannot wait to play this game. Like Howling Abyss. For those of you who don't know, but if you don't know, then like where have you been? Howling Abyss is the ARAM landmark of the end, which at the start of the round it creates in hand a random level 2 champion, so already leveled, and then that's not in your hand, deck, or in play. For getting this down to like the quickest you can get this down, like the quicker you can get this down, because obviously it was a lot to play on 7. Like for you to get to the point of 7, and you're just throwing this down. It was a big kind of tempo loss.
Mm-hmm.
Getting it down that turn sooner, it actually might make a difference now. Like I'm hyped for this card.
I am afraid for all the reasons you just said.
Yes,
like same shit, different feelings.
Yes. I'm honestly so happy.
Yeah, I'm honestly so afraid.
Yep. Which Ren Shadowblade going up now to 4 damage rather than, because it used to be a 3/3 going up to 4/3, which is obviously that unit in Ionia, which is a quick attack. Upon a strike in, they give you the blade, which is the Shadow Fiends, which is the 4/1.
You say obviously as if everyone plays Ren Shadowblade.
Yes, obviously that man, the man who confuses everyone because it's actually the guy who's strangling the guy in the artwork.
The thing about this change is that it's an enormous flavor win, because Ren Shadowblade is meant to be making copies of himself, like Zed, right?
Yeah.
And Shadow Fiends are 4/3s. So,
Yeah.
like, this just makes the card make more sense.
Yeah. So,
Not necessarily good, but makes more sense.
it makes more sense, and yeah, it's like it's just increasing like his usability in terms of the fact that obviously with that quick attack with the additional like stat, it's potentially more usable.
Yeah.
Okay, Droplet. Droplet has now lost its attune, which actually is kind of big
That's
because
huge.
that used to be such a devastating move for just like Ionia
Zero
in
mana.
general. Turn one, Ionia just firing this down. It's they haven't lost anything. They've got a 1/1 elusive on the board, and they've still banked the mana they would have done if they would have passed the turn. Like, I'm so glad this has lost the chain.
Yeah, no, I would put this under the same heading as Single Combat and Ravenous Flock and Make It Rain as cards that I'm okay with being overpowered. I don't care that it got nerfed, just like I don't care that Make It Rain got nerfed. It's not a card because of its dynamic play design. This was not a card that I particularly had a gripe about, but it was undoubtedly overpowered. Same way
Okay.
that Single Combat's overpowered now. It's just I don't mind because it leads to good play patterns.
We now go on to the Greenglade Outlook, which is gone up in health stat because obviously it's gone from 2/1 to 2/2. It's the card which upon striking it reduces the cost of the most expensive unit in hand by 1. At least it's got the chance to potentially survive 1 hit now. It didn't really have the chance to do that. Now it's got a slight chance of surviving 1 hit.
I think this buff is huge. When I first saw this buff, it gave me like full on whiplash. And then I saw the 2 buffs underneath it, or rather, not directly underneath it. I saw the other 2 Ionia buffs, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yes.
And it felt like after having been like given whiplash, I then got hit by a car, then kicked by the driver. Like, these Ionia buffs are insane.
So let's dive into them. Number 1, Young Witch is now going up to 2 health, which actually, yeah, again, for a elusive support card, which is going to be giving its support quick attack +1 this round, it is actually quite devastating with the outlook to be able to give them like a free and that, like, and then like reduce the cost down, obviously with the quick attack, so it's going to be harder to remove the outlook. But yeah, that increased health stat does mean that it gets past Withering Well, Vile Feast, all the 1 damage, stuff. But let's face it, this is the one where people care about because Will of Ionia is back down to 4 mana. Do you remember the days of Ionia, like a Will of Ionia being 4 mana, Janky?
It takes no brain power at all to remember that this one is a revert. This one is firmly locked in our minds. But here's the thing: Will of Ionia going back to 4 mana. I like the mental. I fucking love the mental picture of someone at Riot going, yeah, so Homecoming has just overtaken Deny as the most played card in Ionia. We should probably nerf to, what was that? Oh no, sorry, buff Will of Ionia. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, so it's now down to 4 mana again, which people who remember back in the day, this card got it was the combination of this and Deny both being 4 mana. I feel that everyone was like, "No, I can't have this. This is no."
Well,
And there
back
was
in the day,
such a...
Deny was 3 mana.
That's true. Yeah, you're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
there was a time
Oh my
where...
god! Yeah. So the fact that this changed literally, I think that it's hit a lot of the people who've been playing this game for a long time. Like, oh no, not again! That brings back so many memories of terrible, terrible times. But it's interesting to see what it's going to be like in the recent meta.
I am less concerned with Will of Ionia going to 4 mana and significantly more concerned about the next change.
Yes, the next change, which is Twin Discipline, has gone down in cost to 2 mana. Twin Discipline, which used to yet again be a staple card in most Ionia decks, like in terms of like you'd always be watching out for this and thinking I've got to play around it. It used to be the 3 mana burst speed plus 3 attack or plus 3 health. It's slowly but surely dwindled in play.
And Riot just couldn't have that, I guess.
They couldn't have that, so they've given it to me. Like, this is actually one of those cards where you do have to watch out for it. Its ability to like have that versatility of going up in attack or going up in health. Like,
This is as powerful as Troll Chant now, and Troll Chant is probably the single most overpowered combat trick in the game.
Yes. I mean, this is
so
devastating.
stupid, yeah.
This is devastating, and like it's gonna be one of those things where we're gonna see how it goes. Potentially, this might get reverted in my mind, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things whereby until the game starts playing, like it's hard to really say what it's gonna do. But this is actually a really powerful change. Like its versatility of that card is devastating. We go which the tactician is now actually going up to being a 5/5. He now he now helps himself with reputation in terms of
more. He can now be targeted with bloody business, which makes sense because he's in the art.
He's in the art of bloody business because yes, no, when he originally joined the game, he was a 4/5. He is a reputation card who is on, as you say, the bloody business thing for 8 cost. So many people are like, why is this guy not at least got 5 attack with everything that's going on? But yes, it's a very powerful card that when summoned rally, and so many quite devastating abilities that have been done with him in terms of, especially with LeBlanc, the ability of then using her spell to resummon him and get another rally. Like some really devastating plays that can be done with him.
Yeah.
Yep. City Breaker is going up in terms of like 1 damage because it used to be just a 0/5, but it always does 1 damage to the enemy nexus. Like it's an interesting. It's one of those things whereby I don't see it making much of an effect to its card's play thing because like obviously like the main reason you're playing that card is to be a backbencher to do the 1 damage, but it does now become one of those things that you can put in the way of like you can block and potentially do trades, which is actually quite big.
For no reason that I can really specify, this is my favorite change here. Like I can't even really like quantify why. I just really love this buff.
I mean, it's a nice stated unit in terms of health, and so its ability to now allow it to trade is actually quite nice. I will admit that because obviously before it previously, like I didn't have any way of doing like any change to what was like. You could still use it as a blocker, but it wasn't doing it. Like it's basically this could be what the equivalent is of when they gave Brom 1 attack stat.
Yeah,
this could be.
Significantly doubt it will be that good, but
no, it won't be that good because
yeah.
it doesn't have regeneration. But I mean, but it's one of those things where, at least now,
Challenger.
It has at least now it has the ability to trade, which is quite nice. Yeah. Jay Madonna, the man of memes, has now gone up to 5/5. Did it used to be a 5/5?
It used to be an 8 cost with elusive. I can't remember if it was a 5/5.
Okay, but yes, no. So now he is a 5/5, which is just nice for his cost. I mean, it makes a lot more sense for Jay. So potentially we might see a rise in Jay Madonna.
I will eat my shoes.
Henchman has gone up in health. I'm so happy to see this one because I do love trying to put this man into a deck. It's the guy who, when they Nexus strike, makes an exact copy. This just helps them out a lot more because there's so many things which makes them easily killable. So I'm happy to see that health stat go up.
Going from 3 to 4 mana 3 to 4 health might not seem significant, but going from 4 to 8 health or from 9 to 12 health, etc., it adds up. This buff stacks.
Right, we must keep going because so many more cards to go.
Why is there so many more?
I mean, there are so many cards. Rummage now going from 1 cost to 2 cost. This actually was one of these ones where when I saw it, it hit me big in my soul because Gomez is one of those ones who near enough every PNZ deck I always put some Rummages in because it's such a good card for draw. And like for what, so I can understand why this has happened, but at the same time, I'm livid.
Yeah, I'm upset.
Yeah, it much upset. Like Rummage is such a good card, and going up now to that. But I can 100% understand it is such a devastating burst speed draw card that and with the right discard synergy, devastating. So understandable. I am now thrown into another bit of upsetness. Triberium Populator going up from 4 to 5. The only massive thing about this is obviously it's quite a big nerf to Ezreal Draven in terms of like because they're all about getting those tri-beams out. So it just means it costs a bit more. So it's just a little bit of a tweak to that deck.
Yep. They did a pretty good job of hitting every meta deck a little bit because all of the meta decks are still real. Like it's not like they've killed any decks here except Trundle Lysandra.
Going into that, the Watcher has now been nerfed into the fact that it now takes 5 cards rather than 4 cards, which are of 8 cost in order to go down to 0 cost. And when it attacks, it obliterates all but 3 non-champion cards. So instead of obliterating the entire deck, it now leaves you with 3 cards. So still a little bit better than Malachi, old Tree Man, who gives you 4 cards. So a little bit better than that, but it's a bit more harder to get this done. Like in terms of the fact you've got to do 5. Because let's face it, like 4 was the perfect number in terms of when you were trying to balance Matron with board space.
Yeah.
5 makes it a little bit harder to work out board space with this, but it is, like I see again, it is quite a big hit to that deck, but it still is a very usable deck.
I don't think so. When you said earlier that the change to Nasus was the biggest change for you, I think this is the biggest change. I think they've I don't think Lysandra Trundle is a playable deck anymore. This isn't an effective enough win condition, and it's too hard to achieve.
To me, it still gives light to which it's one of those things whereby that deck is mostly a control deck anyway. So it's to me, you're right. It makes it harder, and it's not a definite win condition because before when it obliterated the deck, that was your opponent's done. Whereas now it leaves them with a few more turns. But like that deck, considering the fact that most of it is about, I don't know. To me, I still feel like that deck is usable. I'm not saying that it's at the same tier it was, but it's still an okay deck.
Yeah. I
I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree.
You can 100% disagree, buddy, but I get that. What I'm just saying is that's what I think. But obviously, yeah, it's definitely taking it off of Z tier.
Yeah, it's that you can pile 40 cards together and use it. I would say is as far as I'm willing to go.
Fair enough then. Sundra going up in stats to was a 7, which is 7/5 going up to an 8/6. I really want to see this card getting played more because this Raz of the Sundra is one of those cards where sometimes when you just see it as a 1 copy in somebody's deck, it's still a scary card. The fact that it kills the 2 weakest enemies, as long as they've killed somebody this round with how many things what's his face Shadow Isles has got in terms of self-killing stuff. It's one of those cards which is devastating, especially with Fearsome. So it's one of those. I don't know whether this will make it see a little bit more play, but it's a card I'm happy got a little bit of a buff.
Yeah, it was a really good 7 cost, but I still don't know about
for 8
this.
cost. You think it's still a little bit too much. Dusk Rider going up in stats in terms of its attack stat is going up to 3. Yeah, again, just I guess this buffs all the creation card, the what's his face, Unspeakable Horror and whatnot. For if you get this card randomly, because I mean, admittedly, there are people who do still play this card, and I guess it is powerful in a Nightfall deck where you're running that Until Dusk or whatever it is, the card which can make it double up. I guess that does actually make it a really powerful effect, but yeah, again, it's one of those things. Is it enough?
Yeah, maybe. Like you say, the Dusk card, one dude got into Masters with a 3 of Dusk Rider, and then a bunch of other people tried to me included tried to copy it, and it didn't feel very powerful.
It didn't work as powerfully as when they did it.
But you know what? It's still a real card. It
exists. It's a very interesting. It's one of those cards whereby I want to make it work.
Yeah.
It's just making it work is one of those things. Abomination going down to 2 health is actually a really big change. Let's face it. Shadow Isles has got such an aggressive early game with their ability to throw down the Bark Beast going into Curse Keeper, going into Butcher, which then gives them such powerful early game from turn 2. If they hit that curve perfectly, basically being able to hit you with 10 damage. It's free from the Bark Beast, free from so to have this go down from 3 to 2 is actually quite big, because it means that there are actually things that now trade with that, because there were a lot of things that couldn't trade with the Escaped Abomination.
Yeah, I Shadow Isles currently has the ability to have lethal on turn 2, and I just think maybe we should tone down its early game significantly.
At least because Abomination most of the time was surviving like the first trade. You'd mostly be putting your trade into the Butcher to kill the Butcher and then letting the 4 damage go in. Whereas this just makes it so that you can at least like it makes it so that you can take out the Abomination and take the Butcher hit. So it's very nice. Stalking Shadows. Getting it. This is what I said Stalking Shadows should have been from the start. Because for 2 mana, Stalking Shadows was such a devastating card. Like I said this upon Stalking Shadows release, like that how can you do this in terms of like for that cost was so devastating in terms of what you can get. You're getting a choosing a card, making 2 copies, like getting drawing it and getting an ephemeral copy of it. There was like so many devastating things that could be done with this. Going up to 3 mana, I think makes this card fair now.
Oh yeah, totally, 100%.
Clock Widget, so Clock Hand going up to 7/7 just makes it a little bit more like feels good for playing it for 8 rather than like playing at 8 and it only having 4 attack. Whether or not, yeah, again, it's one of those kind of cards whereby you're building a deck around putting this in. Like most of the time, like it's one of those things where it's not exactly a card you throw in to most decks unless you've got a reason for it. But still, its ability of going up to 7/7 is actually really nice. So at least it feels good when you do have it. We've got
a 7/7 that feels less nice.
We've got Rasblade, which is Bloodmane, who is going up from a 6/6 to a 7/7. That devastating ability of giving all enemies -2 this round when it attacks forward. Like we know how powerful that can be in like deep decks in terms of with in terms of the other card which does it. The depths. What is it? Terrors from Below. Like what is that card that is the Shadow Hours card, the deep one, which basically does a similar thing upon attack. It decreases.
Terror of the
Terror of the Tides.
Yeah.
Terror of the Tides. Yeah, so that ability of doing that, but this now has more damage. Like it makes the fearsome archetype in Shurima like I don't. Yeah, again, it's one of those things where if you're going for the early game fearsome with like Elise and whatnot, whether or not this sees play, I don't know, but it at least means that that's a big finisher if you do have it.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I can foresee it. It makes your War Mother's deck cooler.
Yeah, the War Mother's deck, yeah, definitely makes that a lot cooler having this in there, for a 7/7. So quite a nice little thing to have in there. Junekeeper, big change right here, like in terms of the fact that it's changed its stats around from being a 2/1 to a 1/2. Still has the ability, obviously, of surviving some damage with its stat now changing to health rather than attack. But it does mean that that's not turn 1 decimate.
Oh yeah. I would rather have seen this as a 1/1, but you know what?
I mean, I think that a lot of people would have rather seen it as a 1/1.
Can't be choosers.
It's still good value. It's still good value playing the card at the end of the day because it's at least something that could survive damage. It could survive damage and still be used for trades. So we've got Targon now. We're getting there. This is the last few cards.
Yeah.
How do you say this? Because mounting.
Yes. Someone's told me before, but I just call them the Mountain Soldiers.
Yes, mounting Solowulawus. They've gone up, which is a 5 mana card. It's now gone from its base stats being 2/5 to 4/5. So actually jumping up quite a bit on which is the attack stat. And that is the card which is the support grant my supported ally +2/+2. If it is support, which is if it has support, grant that and such. It was basically the chain support card. There wasn't really seeing much love because for 5 cost, like playing like a 2/5, most of the time it was just like, people were immediately challenging it off and so or killing it when you were going forward with the unit because it didn't have the best attack stat. So I can kind of see why this is trying to make it a little bit more playable with that because it actually you'd get that buff off probably once like in terms of going through everyone, and so potentially this gives it a little bit more of a chance to get through. So we've got that Sun Guardian going up from a 4/3 to a 4/4.
The ball.
The ball. This is the one which gets a +4/+4 upon daybreak with overwhelm, which is like when you're obviously playing it to do a massive attack forward with that overwhelm. After that, like I don't know whether or not that stat change is really like irrelevant because you're doing it for the big play on there. It might make it a little bit more playable, but in daybreak decks, I guess you're going for the more cheaper stuff.
Yeah, we're reaching a critical number of Daybreak cards, and
Yeah.
if you're stunning three of your opponent's three strongest units whenever you cast the 5-cost Daybreak spell, it's like, do I really need a 10/10 overwhelm? It's like,
Yep.
do I really though?
This is very true. And then the biggest, which is like quite a big nerf here,
Oh
is
yeah.
star shaping. No longer healing 5, it now heals 4 to which because let's face it, star shaping, it was pretty much part of the Targon package. All you need to do is throw in 3 copies of Zoe, 3 copies of star shaping, and you're done, right? In terms of the fact that you've got a winning deck. So
Rejoice! Targon decks only start on 32 health now.
exactly. So it's taking it down a little bit. Like sometimes that one point of health can actually make the difference. So we'll see whether it's quite we'll see how much of a substantial nerf it is or isn't. But this is still a powerful card to play by no mistake.
Yep.
And then we've got Serpent. It's stat guide that this is actually quite a big one for the 0 mana. It's now no longer a 2/1. It's now a 1/1 because basically that used to be such good value at 0 cost to have like a 2/1 challenger could mostly deal with most things. So it's
I
actually
was really surprised to see this. Like,
it's actually quite a big change that does mean that this card is like not potentially like a choice that you go for, right?
yeah, I didn't really think they had their eyes on this card. Like, I didn't see it as a problem, but like, I kind of get it, I guess.
I guess that it was one of those cards where like it was being like I feel that Ruben did this change himself because he loves playing like he loves playing like Ruben's what is it which is Ruben's pile deck whereby
Mhm.
like has he put this in there just to try and save like so he's got the ability to save Zoe's life against it if he's being countered by it like to be able to use like Pale Cascade or something
Sure.
because obviously let's just say that. But yeah, no, it's still quite a big change because that was actually like really great value of a card. So yeah, that going down to a 1/1, and this is the last change. Is the Fangs going down from a 3/2 to a 2/2, which is the lifesteal card. So yet again, another hit to the healing capabilities of Targon.
Yeah, this change was so necessary, like
Yes.
drastically necessary.
Mm. So all of those things is yeah. So that is the thing. That is we've gone through all the balance patches. That was such a big thing. Quite a few
Are you feeling a
reverts.
little hoarse?
I mean, to be fair, with this podcast, I think it's the longest podcast that we've ever done.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know whether or not people will make it through. I hope you did. If you made it through, congrats. Gomez will give you a pat on the back. Um, if we ever meet in real life, the only other thing to note is the fact that they are adding more champions onto Lab of Legends as well. So they're adding 5 new champions into Lab of Legends, and yeah, great new emotes, great new board and cards, as well as like a couple of
The card backs are so
already the customization skins coming out for the 2 new champions immediately. Like
yeah. I think they're just gonna follow the same pattern they do in League of Legends, where every champion is released with a new skin, or at least I imagine that'll be like the end point.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I gotta say, like, I'm so excited to play Runeterra this evening when this patch goes live. Like, new cards and all of these changes, like, it's really gonna shake up the game.
Yeah, this patch is freaking excellent.
Mm.
Oh,
My
take a breath.
compliments to the chef.
Compliments to the chef.
Yes, no, honestly, really good. I do apologize that we can't like speed run through all of those. Like, didn't really give like too many opinions, but let's face it, this has been a very long episode, so we just wanted to get through them so that you knew them. Although, probably, let's face it, if you're listening to this, you probably have already looked at them. But yeah, it was such a great thing. Is there anything else that we need to say, or shall we?
I think we've made it to the end.
Yep. So thank you so much for listening. Although the end bit did end up just being just us rabbiting through, we did give some of our opinions on some of those cards that got changed and whatnot. And obviously, next one we'll be just letting you know what it's like actually playing all of these new cards and whatnot when we've got a little bit of perspective about what's going on, as well as whether or not we're going to see any like new things happen in the what's his face? There would Lab of Legends because we've got those new champions. I don't know whether or not we're getting new powers with them, like because obviously with new champions getting added, I don't know whether or not they're going to add new powers. So we might have something to talk about as well as just our things on our experience on the ladder of this new meta.
We always have the unparalleled ability to talk shite. So
That we do, my friend. That we do. And so, obviously, thank you so much, okay, for listening. Obviously, you can catch us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Like, so if you love listening to all of these things in different ways, shapes, and forms, those are our outlets as well as we do stream. Well, I stream. I know that Janky, you're gonna get like now that you've got your set up in your new
I'm
house,
back, baby.
you're
Yeah,
back, baby. So yes,
yeah. The entire moving of the house process took a good portion of a month, which is about 1 month longer than intended. But I am standing in front of my computer in my new abode. This is the first day that I've had it, and I should be live tomorrow, I think.
nice. So yeah, so you can catch the links to our which is like Twitch streams and whatnot, as well as the link to like I do YouTube as well. Like I don't know whether or not Janky's going to get himself back into YouTube because there was a point
I'll
where
certainly
Janky was
try.
doing YouTube. So the options are there. But honestly, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. If you did and you're on YouTube or whatever platform you're listening to this to, why not hit that little follow button or heart button or whatever it is so you can catch more of this action when it goes down. As I said, like, thank you for listening. And if there's nothing else to say, then goodbye.
Goodbye.